Good morning. Tensions don't seem to be de-escalating on the India-China front. While satellite images show that the build-up of Chinese structures and the armed presence in the Galwan Valley remains unchanged. In fact, there may have been some build-up as well. Indian exporters are now worried about the possible Chinese reaction to the Indian action of trying to delay Chinese shipments and consignments by inspecting them. In fact, some Indian exporters, FIO had a webinar yesterday. So some Indian exporters are talking about their containers being held up in Hong Kong. In much the same way that we were holding back the Chinese containers in various ports in the country. In fact, FIO has asked the Commerce Secretary Anup Wadhawan to come out with a clear statement on what exactly the government is doing, because that is important to allay the fears of importers and producers who rely on imports. India seems to be caught in an odd bind here. While Defence Minister Rajnath Singh went to the USSR a few days ago to reinforce our ties and to buy some equipment there, India is obviously hoping that the United States will also put some kind of pressure on China. The United States, as we know, deployed 3 aircraft carriers in the Pacific region, in the Pacific Ocean, and that is supposed to put some kind of a check on the Chinese there. Now India is caught in an odd trap here. On the one hand, it is looking for support from the Americans. On the other hand, the American government yesterday came out with a statement firmly saying that Huawei is essentially a front for the Chinese PLA, and at the same time, as we know, India has allowed Huawei to participate in the 5G trials. Now whether this changes in the weeks ahead, we don't know, but it's worth looking. Our lead article on the edit page in fact recognizes the need for India to teach China a lesson to reduce imports from China, but this is over a period of time. Basically, it makes the column makes a point for teaching China a lesson at a pace that makes sense, for India and Indian importers, Indian industry, because we don't want to hurt Indian industry while trying to give the Chinese a bloody nose. But first, I think it's important to get some perspective here. If you look at the value of India's manufacturing output, not the manufacturing GDP, the manufacturing output which is higher, and look at the value of the manufacturing output and use this to divide India's imports from China. So when you do that, you get for FY18, you get a figure of around 5%. That means that if India is manufacturing goods worth around 100 rupees, that means they're being sold in the market for 100 rupees, then less than 5 rupees out of that is essentially Chinese imports. So that's not a very alarming number. And of course, it is true in certain sectors like pharmaceuticals, this is much higher. But this is the point that I was making before. Here is the rub. If India is not able to get its own raw materials and basically to produce API, to get the API production started is going to take some time. So if India is not able to get its own API, any call to boycott Chinese goods or to raise the import duty on them or to delay the consignment is only going to hurt India. The same applies for other sectors, whether it is solar panels, whether it is mobile phones, anything which is going to hurt Indian industry should be looked at very, very carefully. In fact, the column also argues that the push for labeling goods, on the basis of country of origin that the government seems to be pushing right now, is actually a bad idea. It is going to fan the anti-Chinese feelings, which is not a bad thing in itself. But the problem with fanning anti-Chinese feelings is that it will push the government to take more and more action. It will push the government into being more protectionist, which in the long run doesn't actually help India. It makes India more uncompetitive. So to give you an example, so if for example we don't allow certain kind of Chinese goods to come to India and India remains uncompetitive, so essentially what will happen is that either Chinese goods will get smuggled into India or you'll have imports coming from Bangladesh or Vietnam or some countries like that. That doesn't help India either. While some newspaper reports over the last few weeks were suggesting that state governments were not really interested in the 90,000 crore rupees of debt that the central government was going to make available to the SEBs through the centrally government owned financial institutions, PFC and REC. Now, Power Minister R.K. Singh has set those speculation to rest. He's given the details of what each state government seems to want from the center. Now the issue really is that these loans are being given in return for certain reform obligation there. So that's a great move, but we've got to keep in mind is that once the loans are given, will the central government push the SEBs, the state governments to do those reforms, particularly, if you start need to take action around the time that elections start coming around it. Keep in mind that, whether it's the UPA in the past or whether it's the NDA now, both the governments have come out with, with bailout packages for the power sector. Both of them had very limited reforms that were attached to it, or very little stick, if you will, to the carrot of the money. So these didn't really work in the past. So what we need to see now is whether this latest round of 90,000 crores of money will actually be accompanied by very strict penalties if the states don't reform it. There's a parallel story in our paper today. It's not strictly related to the level of reforms in the SEBs, but it's an interesting story, because basically what it's done is that the state government objected to some of the changes that the central government wanted in the Electricity Act, and the central government has gone back on that. Now, as I said, the things with the central government has gone back on are not critical to the reform of the SEBs, but it just tells you that if the SEBs or the state governments push hard enough, it is possible that the central government may buckle. 10 and class 12 exams have been postponed. The CBSE has told the Supreme Court. So that's very, very good news for lakhs of students who are worried as to how they would actually go and give their exams in these pandemic times. That's the good news there. The bad news is that obviously you need some kind of marking system to promote these people. So whether they go from the 12th to the college, or they go from the 10th to the plus 2 where they select their subjects, they're going to require some kind of marking. So what the CBSE has proposed is that the last 3 exams, the marks in the last 3 exams be taken, the internal assessments be taken into account. While that seems a fair system, as any of us who've been to school know, it's not too many people who actually study regularly throughout the year. So it is very possible, most people tend to cram just before the exam. That's a bad thing, but that's the way it is. So, so if your last 3 exams or the internal assessments are going to be taken into account, it is possible that you will not get the kind of marks that you want. Now, the saving grace here seems to be, there is a little bit of way out that the CBSE seems to have suggested. This is not final, but the CBSE has suggested that maybe for people who are not satisfied, they can actually take an exam later in the year, but we don't know when that will happen, and so you don't even know whether that's going to be really possible. BSNL salary bill, after the generous VRS that the company gave following a bailout package, an 80,000 crore bailout package from the central government. So thanks to that generous VRS package, BSNL's monthly salary bill has come down to about 350 crores. It used to be 950 crores earlier on. But despite this bill having come down so dramatically, BSNL has not been able to pay salaries for May, and we are nearing the end of June. So it essentially goes to show you that cost cutting is a great thing and every company is doing it, but cost cutting is hardly a viable solution when the top line is disappearing. So that's something for the government to chew on, because right now the government is trying to rework what the contours of BSNL's 4G tender should be. Niti Aayog has even come up with the suggestion that BSNL should buy a wholly indigenous system, which BSNL is objecting to. So basically we need to get BSNL up and running very quickly. Of course, that also tells you why the government needs to increase its tax collections from us so regularly, because white elephants, whether they are BSNL or India, they're going to continue to drain the country. They're going to continue to drain the exchequer, and people like us will have to pay that money. We're looking at other stories, the OTT versus theatre. That is the Netflix and the Prime Video, Disney, Hotstar and things like that. Basically the OTT versus theatre debate, where should we launch an OTT or should we launch on theatres? That debate for now at least seems to have been settled in favor of the OTT. So after the Amitabh Bachchan, Ayushmann Khurrana starer called Gulabo Shitabo, Janhvi Kapoor's Gunjan Kapoor, we understand, is going to be released on OTT first. This is basically a story on Kargil. In fact, it's called Gunjan Saxena, the Kargil girl. And the late Sushant Singh Rajput's Dil Bechara, is also going to be premiering on OTT quite soon. Our lead edit page article by T. Nanda Kumar looks at all the agricultural laws, ordinance ordinances that the government has come out with over the last few days. These are in response to the Prime Minister's call for levels of reform. Basically, as he points out in this article, good intent, now fix the glitches. So he's basically saying there are lots of loopholes that we need to watch out for. And I think it's very important to take Mr. T. Nanda Kumar, what Mr. T. Nanda Kumar says, take it seriously, is because Mr. Nanda Kumar is a former agricultural secretary, and he knows just how his colleagues can or will in fact look for loopholes in the law to reinterpret it in a way that suits them best. And a lot of that interpretation in the past seems to be aimed at negating the intent of policy makers in the government. After years of social media and various platforms such as Google offering users substandard news, in fact very often even fake news, there seems to be some good news here. Essentially, Google has said that it's going to start paying newspapers in various countries a certain amount of money for their news, which they will offer on a platform. Now we need to see how that's going to work out before celebrating it, and we need to see what kind of money Google will be paying before newspapers actually heave a sigh of relief. But it's certainly a lot of good news for millions of people across the world who've been fed on a daily diet of fake news and bad news and substandard news. If creating a coronavirus vaccine isn't hard enough, and there are lots of contenders and the trials are going on, but if creating that vaccine isn't hard enough, there's an unusual hurdle that companies seem to have come up against, and we report that apparently there's a huge shortage globally of glass vials to pack the vaccines in. So hopefully by the time the vaccines actually are ready for delivery, we'll have solved that problem as well. After several decades of equating fair with being lovely, and nothing epitomizes that more than Hindustan Unilever's cream in India called Fair and Lovely. In fact, most similar creams go by the generic term beauty creams. So Hindustan Unilever has said that they probably, in response to the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States, in response to that, Hindustan Lever has said that they intend to drop the term fair from the cream. It's probably going to go with the name Glow and Lovely or Lovely Glow or something like that. And Hindustan Unilever chairman Sanjeev Mehta has said in a statement, we are making our skincare portfolio more inclusive, a more diverse portrayal of beauty. Now that statement, to me at least, suggests that the concern for the color of the skin is skin deep. Thank you. Have a great day.